Good evening and welcome. I'm Neil Green, the music director here at CUMC, and I just want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy summer to come for the start of the Ruth Ann Beard concert series. Excited that you're here. The background of this series, the purpose of it is threefold. First of all, just look around you. We want at this church to be the best stewards that we can be of this space and of the instruments that reside here that we can possibly be. In fact, personally speaking, the first time I ever set foot in here was not for a normal worship service. It was actually for somebody's high school violin graduate recital. And it happened to be in the summer also when the AC was not working here. But what a wonderful introduction I had to this building, and I was kind of inspired by that, that this series could be possible even. Secondly, we want to draw the local arts community to our campus as a part of our mission to invite, connect, equip, and serve through Jesus Christ. So that's why you're here. Thirdly, we want to honor the 65-year ministry of our beloved and recently retired organist and accompanist, Ruth Ann Beard. Ruth Ann, would you stand so we can appreciate you? The vision we have for this series is to have eventually 3 to 5 concerts per year. We want to bring in individuals and groups from around Kentucky and even beyond, and who play a variety of musical genres. The sky's the limit, really. Tons of potential. And we desire that these concerts be free of charge. Now, concerts take money to put together. And so in order to accomplish this, we have created a concert fund for this series that's in addition to our church's budget. I'll share more at a later time tonight about how you can get involved with that. Some housekeeping for this evening before I introduce our artist. The restrooms are in the corners of our narthex, the men's to my right and the ladies to my left. If possible, try to wait until there's a break in the music, if you need to get up and go, if possible. And take this moment right now to put your mobile device on silent for our artist, for those around you, and even for your own sake. And so without further delay, let me introduce our inaugural artist for our Ruth Ann Beard concert series. He is an Oldham County resident. He is a friend that I've had the privilege to play music with here and there for several years. He's been playing piano for more than 50 years, being trained classically, and then dabbling in multiple styles of music from high school onward. He currently plays regularly as a pianist at Crestwood Baptist Church, where he also leads the praise band. He plays in the local R&B and soul group, the Times Band. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Rod McCloy.
Good evening. There we go. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. As Neil said, I just want to offer my gratitude for you for spending time with me this evening as we get to enjoy together some just amazing music from years gone by. They talk about they don't make them like they used to. Some of this music is just extraordinary, and it's my honor to get a chance to share it, especially as an inaugural artist for such a a wonderful cause as this. So thank you very much for having me. Neil, thank you. Thank you to members of Crestwood United Methodist for having me here. I'm going to talk a little bit about the program here, if I may, and I want to introduce each of the pieces as I get to them. So as we go along, you'll see me pick up the mic, and I'll talk a little bit about the composers and the pieces so that you have a little bit of an insight as to where the pieces came from. And so tonight's program is Theme and Variations on Theme and Variations. So there are a few themes in the pieces that I've selected tonight. There is a sort of a theme and variation piece. There are a number of repeated notes and figures that occur throughout, like the different selections that I have. And one of the things that's a really strong theme is sort of the free musical forms that are included here. We've got sort of fantasies and impromptus, and even the sonata that I'm going to play is not in sonata form, because that's just not how this guy rolled. He did it differently. So we'll talk about that. And they're from different musical periods. And we've got a range of technical demands, too. Some of them are ones that you may have students of the piano that you know play. Others are more advanced. So I wanted to have sort of a range of those different types of options to present to you this evening. So the programs, Neil was kind enough to print them up. You have them with you. They're presented here. And so I hope there's something in here that you will recognize and enjoy, and maybe there's even something in here you'll enjoy that you hadn't heard before but you become a fan of. So that's a goal for this evening. Let's hope that works. Now, when I was a kid, Michael Tilson Thomas was one of the youngest conductors in the entire symphonic realm, and he went to the New York Philharmonic Orchestra, and he used to have a television show that was on Saturday mornings and was broadcast, and the goal of the show was basically to bring in young kids and talk to them about the orchestra and talk to them about classical music and help them understand, what this was all about. And I loved that show. I loved learning about the pieces, loved learning about the composers. And being kind of a teacher at heart, you're going to hear some of that this evening. I want to do a little Michael Tilson Thomas for you. So I want to start by talking about someone that may need no introduction, that being Ludwig van Beethoven, my favorite composer. He's my guy. And he's well known for continuing to compose even after he had lost his hearing. He composed numerous works, mostly for keyboard, but he did all kinds of symphonies. He did string quartets and so on. So he wrote a little bit of everything. But the thing that was particularly key to Beethoven was he was sort of the bridge between the classical and Baroque styles all the way up into the Romantic styles. He was really the impetus for much of that. And this first piece, I just saw something on YouTube the other day. It's like, great. Top 10 most overplayed piano pieces. And this was right there, right? And I'm like, I don't care. I'm playing it anyway because I like it. Normally, you only hear the first movement because it's so beautiful. But the other two movements are actually worth listening to and are interesting in their own right. One thing that's particularly interesting about this sonata is that it's not in sonata form. Remember back like when you were in high school and you had to go through poetry. The guys in particular will vibe with me on this. And you hated going through the poetry section, and the English teacher was talking about things like iambic pentameter and all this other stuff, right? There was a certain structure, or there was sonnet form. Shakespeare's sonnets have a particular structure that had to be followed. Piano sonatas are the same way. They had a particular form that they followed. In particular, the first movement of a sonata, it's a multi-movement piece. The first movement tended to be fast and very, very ambitious, and it presented like a main theme that came back several times and went through recapitulation and development and all this other stuff. That's not the way this is structured. The opening movement is the one everyone knows, and it's anything but fast. And it doesn't have the usual number of movements, and it just doesn't conform in really many ways to the usual sonata form, but that's the way Beethoven was. When I played this, I started playing this when I was in high school, and I always felt like that second movement, which Franz Liszt called this, sort of rose between two chasms. It's a very short movement, But because of its placement and the type of music it was, I always felt like this entire sonata for me and my teenage angst and in my desire to, want to, I had feelings for certain girls and they didn't really reciprocate them, so I was sort of on my own, the lonely teenage boy. And I remember thinking as I was playing this, this is like a perfect example of romantic music from the standpoint in the beginning. It's sort of this longing melody that just is haunting, right? And it sort of shows this soul almost just, breaking kind of pain because of loneliness. And then in the middle, there's this little minuet that happens that you might imagine would happen as you're dancing in a court with your love, but it's very short-lived. And then things apparently went horribly sideways because the third movement is almost pure rage. It's just unmitigated, just anger. And I love it. I love it. But it's not what people necessarily associate with the Moonlight Sonata, which, by the way, Beethoven did not come up with that name. It was provided by a music critic. But to give you an idea, I was sort of validated with this point of view, I believe, because there was a series that was done in Britain called The Genius of Beethoven. And it's sort of like a small mini-series. I think there were 3 or 4 episodes. And Alice Eve is one of the actresses in the series, and she is shown in this video clip I would like to play, where she is talking about the difficulty that she might experience if she were to become betrothed to who might become a deaf musician. And you can also tell that she's probably one of his students, and she was trying to play the third movement and having trouble. And so he comes in and demonstrates for her. But she also realizes during the time that this seems to be a personal piece written about her. And that's not making her very happy because she can hear the anger in it. And so I felt a little validated by this scene because I completely resonated with it. I hope you'll enjoy it. I'll play it for you now.
I can't possibly marry this man. I don't know what I was thinking. My head must have been turned by the music. I mean, obviously he's without rank or permanent position. I mean, what would my future be? Something else? All of Vienna's whispering about it. There's talk he might be losing his hearing. A deaf musician. Can you imagine that? It's just sort of, well, it's,
My hearing hasn't improved. In fact, I think it may be getting worse. And the lady I told you about is not of my class. So marriage is out of the question. And in any case, I really am far too busy with my music.
Bravo.
Bravo indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, Beethoven, Sonata number 14, The Moonlight. Thank you. Thank you very much. I will now turn to the second primary, I guess, composer in many people's, oh man, this is not working well for me, I'm sorry. In many people's repertoire if you're a pianist, and that is Frédéric Chopin. Let's get Frédéric up on the screen. Frédéric Chopin. That's not where I want to be.
I can't possibly marry this man.
It's a French
I
name,
don't know
but
what
he
I
has
was
a Polish
thinking.
heritage. He was actually born in Poland.
My head must have been
I'm not
turned by
about
the
to try
music.
to pronounce this. Well, I guess I'll try.
Obviously he's without rank or permanent position.
French.
I mean, what would my future be?
Right? So, I mean, that French, I don't know. I can say Shashevsky, okay?
Something
I can do
else.
that, but I can't quite get there. But he
All of Vienna's whispering about it.
lived. Why is this still on?
Let's talk.
There we go. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know, because it looked fine here.
I can't possibly marry this man.
I want to be able to, well, because I can't see it. All right, I'll just turn and talk to it. You can see he was never married. He lived a short life, actually, only to age 39. Was never married, although was in a relationship with George Sand, whom many of you know was actually female. She was a female author. Couldn't get published as a female at the time, so she went under the pen name George Sand. And he was a friend and composer of one of the most stylish and showy and bombastic pianists and technical monsters of all time, Franz Liszt. All of his works, unlike Beethoven, all of his works involved the piano, and most of it for a solo performer. And he wrote all kinds of styles, everything from preludes to etudes to waltzes to scherzos to ballads, impromptu sonatas, you name it. But he was particularly influenced by nationalism and wrote a number of polonaises and mazurkas from his Polish heritage. And one of the things that I like about this next slide is it shows here, I love this, I don't like his music, but I love this quote. It may be sacrilegious, but Robert Schumann wrote, in his 1836 review of the piano concertos, now that the Poles are in deep mourning after the failure of the November 1830 uprising, their appeal to us artists is even stronger. If the mighty autocrat in the north, that being Tsar Nicholas I of Russia, could know that in Chopin's works, in the simple strains of his mazurkas, there lurks a dangerous enemy, he would place a ban on his music. Chopin's works are cannon buried in flowers, because they were so nationalistic. But he is very, very famous, and perhaps most famous for his nocturnes, night songs. And so I wanted to play one of those for you this evening. It's the first one, and of all the ones that he had written, Opus 9, number 1, it's an early one in B flat minor. I like it because it's a really good example of nocturnes. Most nocturnes have an A, B, A, called ternary, A, B, A form. You have one section that begins, and you have a different kind of section, and then the original section kind of returns with a slight variant. And so you will hear that in this piece. And I've always thought of it, I always liked it because I always saw my daughter dancing around whenever I would play this. It has a very lyrical dance-like kind of feel. So with that, Nocturne Opus 9, number 1 in B flat minor, Frédéric Chopin. Thank you. There we go. I'm having strange moments with my equipment this evening. I apologize. Here we go. The next composer, Franz Peter Schubert, another one who died way too young. Lived, I think, is it 30, is he 28 and 31? Yeah, he was only about 30, not even 31. No, he was 31. Okay, 31 years old. The best way to describe Schubert, many of you may know him for his Ave Maria. He has a setting of the Ave Maria that is very, very well known, and it's beautiful. Almost everything he wrote was beautiful. The way to describe Schubert in my mind is that he walked around with melodies just falling out of his ears. I mean, his sonatas tended to be like 40 and 50 minutes long because he had so much that he wanted to say, and he just had to get it out. And he wrote hundreds and hundreds of songs, and he wrote all kinds of pieces for all kinds of instruments. The piano pieces I'm going to play this evening are from his series of impromptus. And impromptus, if I were to give an impromptu speech, am I prepared? No, you just kind of get up and wing it, right? That's what an impromptu of a musical form is supposed to sound like. It's supposed to sound a little improvisational, as if someone's just kind of messing around with things and kind of seeing where the melody is going to take them. And so I think these two particular selections will do a nice job of that. The first one is in E-flat major. It's a moto perpetuo, which basically means my right hand gets moving and doesn't really stop for a very long time. Just perpetual motion, just kind of goes for a very long time. There's a middle section that Schubert puts in here that he probably wanted to do something else with and stuck it in the middle of this impromptu. It's almost a military march sounding kind of section. But I like this. It's a fun piece to play. And then number 3 is a very well-known piece. You may have heard it many times, not realized that he had written it. It's appeared in many movies and many commercials. I listed a couple of them here. One, the science fiction movie of all things, Gattaca. There is a 12-fingered pianist. So a little polydactyly there for you. And he plays this. He plays this G-flat major impromptu. And it's also in the Portrait of a Lady, but it's a very well-known piece and very serene and very beautiful, as I said, as I think most of Schubert's things tend to be. So I hope you'll enjoy this foray into some of Schubert's works.
Well, to have evenings like this, as I said earlier, does take some financial help. So to recall back to what I said about our concert fund that we've set up for this series, it does take a lot to put on these concerts, and we have a big vision for what this can be, and it's already been great. And we appreciate each of you being here, and so we have given you an opportunity tonight that you might even take advantage of if you feel inclined during the break that's happening now, either in person to make a donation. Our ushers are going to be out in the narthex at this time, and then afterwards, if you'd like to give something physically, or for the electronically inclined, on your program, on the back there is a QR code near the bottom that you can scan and donate in that way. Thank you so much for your generosity in making this concert series happen. So we'll see you in a few minutes after this intermission. All right. If you'd make your way back to your seats, I'd appreciate it. Well, if you don't have a church that you go to, I wanted to make sure you know about ours. We'd love to have you join us on Sunday mornings at 9:01 and 11:11. We're Methodists. Yeah. If you are not available in the morning, on August 21st, we're starting a Wednesday night service in our old chapel that way. It's going to be a really unique experience that we're excited about and could be something for any of you who might have to work or something in the morning. Wednesday night, 6:30, starting August 21st in the old chapel. And I'm excited to announce our next concert in this series. It's going to be on November the 8th, a Friday night at 7 p.m., and will feature guitar phenomenon Jacob Johnson from Greenville, South Carolina. That's might seem like a ways off on the calendar, but he will be worth the wait. I can tell you personally. Jacob Johnson, November 8th, Friday night. Love to see you there too and spread the word. I think there's a little part on the back of your program about him. Well, let's welcome back Rod.
Thank you all. Let's go to the second part of the program, shall we? This slide is specifically for my wife. Vive la France. No. She's a Spanish teacher, so you know. This next piece is by a French composer named Claude Debussy. You may be aware of his pieces. He has several that are well known, but certainly none more famous than Clair de Lune, which I will not be playing this evening. I will be playing this instead. La Cathédrale Engloutier. It is an interesting piece to me because it is, it's a program piece, it's an image piece. Debussy was known as a romanticist and an impressionist with his music, although he wasn't a big fan of that title, but he can't escape himself. It's just who he was. And this is a prelude that was published in 1910, and it's based on a legend of French history that describes the island nation or country or kingdom of Is. Y-S, Is. That's for Aiden, my son. So the idea is that in this Breton myth, there was a kingdom that was right there near the ocean, obviously. It's in the middle of the ocean as an island, and there were walls that kept the ocean waters out. And the king, the good king, had a key that kept those flood walls locked at the appropriate times. King also had a daughter, and the daughter had a boyfriend. And so in different versions of the story, sometimes it's the daughter who's a mess, sometimes it's the boyfriend who screws up. But in either case, something bad happens, and that is basically that they take the keys to the flood walls, and either the boyfriend takes it and comes back in with it, or she takes the key and lets him in. But either way, the walls do not get closed. And so then when it's time for the ocean tide to rise, it does and sinks the kingdom. But the legend is that there is, on certain days, for sailors who traverse those open waters, an occasional glimpse of the Cathedral of Is that would come up out of the ocean for a brief moment, and you would sometimes hear the music of the organ, and you would hear the bells from the cathedral. And then it would eventually sink back down into the depths of the ocean until its next appearing. That is what Debussy tried to capture in this piece. See if you can picture it. La Cathédrale Engloutier, the sunken cathedral. Thank you. And now we'll go to the final two pieces of the evening. This by the Russian composer Sergei Rachmaninoff. I got started playing his things because I was trying to play classical music that my family would like. And they really didn't care much for Beethoven. And then I thought, oh, I will be like the dude. I'm going to play some Chopin. I'll be the romantic guy. I'm going to play these nocturnes. And man, no, didn't happen. Didn't do it. And so the piano teacher ended up bringing, or sending home with our kids, like this set of CDs, like different, selections from different classical composers. And they'd be playing. And one day my wife's like, ooh, I like this. And I'm like, you like this? She said, yeah, I really like this. I'm going, oh, great. Because it was Rachmaninoff. And then another piece. Ooh, this is fantastic. Rachmaninoff. And I say that not because I do not like his music. His music is beautiful and it's fantastic. But it is hard. And he had enormous hands and I do not. And so there is a physical challenge aside from the regular technical challenge that his music presents. But I decided to find certain pieces that I could play that would actually speak to them. And so I've got a few Rachmaninoff pieces that I've been able to identify. And tonight, I want to play a couple from the Moment Musico. This was something written in Rachmaninoff's earlier years. He was actually pretty hard up for money. Imagine that, a young man, a musician no less, hard up for money. Go figure. But it happened. And so he needed to write some stuff, and so he wrote this selection of 6 pieces. And I want to play 2 of them for you tonight. The first one is similar, I think, in terms of sounding, at least to my ears and to those of a number of critics, like a nocturne, like I played from Chopin. It has that feel, but it's a Russian nocturne, okay? So it's got some brooding. It's got some heavy stuff. It has some beautiful parts, but it's Russian. There's not much mistaking it. And then number 4 is Presto in E minor, which I just had to learn. It was such a fun piece to listen to, and it was a hard piece to learn, but it was a fun piece to play. And I will do my best to extract what I'm supposed to from the keys this evening for that. So I hope you enjoy these last 2 Moments Musico, musical moments, Sergei Rachmaninoff.
What a wonderful experience in this busy modern age that we live in. You have been a wonderful audience tonight, and there's nothing more but to say God bless you and have a great evening.
Presenting you an opportunity to be, I'm sharing worship too. That's the way I look at it. Yeah. This week our pastor got out of town and he asked me if I would do the whole service. Really? Tammy and I did a marriage talk one except for the sermon. Okay. I've never done one anything like that. I am doing it. Okay. I'm going to tie in music to it. So what are you preaching on? Well, don't call it preaching. Oh, come on now. I'm speaking. Okay. One of the things is the guitar strings. When you go by guitar string, there's a string.
That's great.
There's no use. It has no use until you put it on the instrument and stretch it. So it's just that thing of we're a guitar string, but unless you're stretched and pushed, because we're trying to get people to get out and be other than just coming to church. So that's what central. There's a lot more to it. I'm going to start from when I first started this music. I was in a church in Georgia. Looking back at the Pentecostal church, but we had a singing school. And this guy came in and taught us the shape notes and how the way me stuff works. Those shape notes. And it was like and we learned to sing harmony and sing in what do they call that style, where you sing the do re mi's.
Oh,
Sacred
solfege.
Heart.
Like solfege.
Sacred Heart.
I've heard of solfege. Yeah, so you use solfege with the do re.
Everybody sings. It's so beautiful without, and there's no instruments for that. And so that's how I learned how to sing harmony and do stuff like that. And my mom saw that I was interested, so she made me take piano lessons, which I did for 2 years. But I learned music. I learned how to, how to know what those black dots on the thing were. So I want to tie that into, that I do actually do a video of how steel's made, and then how guitar strings, and just tie that into how all that stuff that happens now is my life, and then I'll try and I can put the string in the guitar, just, the harmony and be in tune properly, that kind of stuff. That's what I'm going to do. That's the plan.
I could almost see it like, we have the different members of the body, right?
Right,
Not everyone's an eye, not everyone's a foot. The strings are also the
Well,
same,
and if
right?
they're tuned, and even if they're tuned right, and you play one in the wrong, like there was a couple times you hit those dissonant chords.
Oh, yeah.
They jump out right away.
They sure do, yeah.
And so if everybody's not doing the right thing, or if there's one part of your life that you say, I'll give God all these chords, but this fifth one I'm keeping to myself. So you play the chord, and that one's like, that dissonance. Yeah. So people notice when you're not in harmony. Yeah. With your life or with your community. So it's cool. All right, well, that gives me some affirmation that I'm headed the right way.
I would say so.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for coming. It's so fun.
I want to do like a Saturday night music thing, kind of like this, but just small. And I like maybe Saturday night. I know just a shame.